On this episode of the Reynolds Files, we are going to do a deep dive of Blade Trinity. And I need the help of every Gen Xer and Millennial because I feel like there's like Mandela effect situation going on here. The way that I remember the feud, because I did go to the movies and watch Blade like every movie. What I remember that was circulating at the time was that there was something racist that happened on the set of Blade, and then he just, Wesley was like, and pissed. He was pissed. And then, was done with the director. Didn't, basically, it was tough in the set. Like, Ranker.com has, like, a good interview about this. And, basically, they're describing what happened. Is like, one day on the set, they let everyone pick their own clothes. There was one black actor who was also kind of a club kid, and he wore this shirt with the word garbage on it in big stylish letters. It was his shirt, and Wesley came down to the set, which he only did for close-ups. Everything else was done by his stand-in. I only did one scene with him, but he comes and goes. There's only one other black guy in the movie, and you make him wear a shirt that says garbage? You racist mother freaker. The interview with Ranker, it's like insanely defamatory towards Wesley. I don't know how they got away with printing or publishing this stuff, and why his rep wasn't going like deny, like what the heck? Look, it says, after getting to a physical altercation with director David Goyer, Wesley Snipes was and the director stopped speaking altogether. But you can't make a movie in the film's if the film's director and stars aren't communicating. So Snipes devised a way to get his point across while still expressing the maximum amount of sulk. Post-its. Towards the end of the shoot and filming all his close-ups, Snipes starting passing post-its to Goyer, and each of them were signed from Blade. Now, we've seen like a lot of interviews where even Ryan Reynolds goes like, I have the utmost respect for Wesley. He was just, this method actor. He never broke character. As a matter of fact, Ryan would like egg him on and, just like do this like one-liners. That's how he got to have more lines, because he wouldn't react. So allegation number 2, Wesley Snipes got physical allegedly with director David Goyer. So Goyer hired biker bodyguards. It turns out Wesley Snipes will totally throw down if you piss him off on set, which is exactly what happened one day when the star tried to strangle director David Goyer during a confrontation about their vampire movie. The night after being intimidated on set, Goyer was out drinking at a strip club with members of the crew when he met some bikers. According to Patton Oswalt, David says to them, "I'll pay for your drinks, all your drinks, if you show up to the set tomorrow and pretend to be my security." They agreed to the deal and showed up the next day, while Wesley freaked out and went back to his trailer. As to Goyer and Snipes' relationship post-Blade, Goyer said, "It was one of the most personally and professionally difficult things I've ever been through," and says he never spoke to Wesley Snipes again. Now, like in other places like the Hollywood Reporter and like other places, you can see where Snipes has denied the claims that he tried to strangle his director, saying that if he actually had done it, that he would have ended up in jail and prison for it. I mean, he's got a point, in my opinion. I'll go back to the other interview that we were like looking at on Ranker, but please read this real quick because it's basically another Blake move. Look at what he's saying, like how, the Forbes interview with Blake, like, "I'll do anything to get the gig." This has the same vibes, guys. Look. He says, "David asked me when I first met him, 'Can you do that?' Talking about like putting on 20 pounds. And I said, 'Absolutely.' That was so full of BS, basically. I didn't know if I could do that. But whenever an actor auditions for anything, they're like, 'So can you fly a F-15 Tomcat?' And you're like, 'Yeah, I went to camp for it.' You just lie, and figure out figure it out on the day. But I actually managed to do it. New Line was very helpful with trainers and nutritionists. You learn so much, and you just gotta live it and do the 4 hours of wherever every day. Notice that Blake was saying that she was working out like 4 hours a day too for It Ends With Us. Like, the parallels are uncanny. But in this interview on Ranker, they kind of like flip the narrative. I'm telling you. But I don't know if it's like for real, or is this just kind of like one of those media manipulations? And why wasn't this refuted immediately? Like, I don't know what's going on here. Ryan Reynolds was referred to as that cracker throughout filming. When Spin reporter Chris Perry showed up to cover the final days on filming on the set of Blade Trinity, he got a story of a lifetime. One of the craziest things he learned was not only did Wesley Snipes not refer to his co-stars by name, but he specifically referred to Ryan Reynolds as that cracker. Speaking under terms of anonymity, an executive on the film claimed Snipes would say things like, "Tell that cracker to get out of my eye line, tell that cracker to get his lines right." The anonymous executive said that he would have walked off the film in the first week, but the rest of the crew was working extra hard to make up for all the bad vibes Snipes was putting out. What if this guy, and like, what if it's like when It Ends With Us, where it was like, you know, the guy, you know, or the girl got, you know, everybody in the cast like turned against. How come like they were able to do so many movies with him just fine, and all of a sudden like when this person comes along, I don't know. Then of course this lady, oh my gosh, also rude in an interview with Shashti. Parker posted didn't think Wesley Snipes cared about the movie. This is like another Jenny Slate in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Maybe they were right. The vibe ain't vibing. I don't know, guys. And in an impromptu interview with Chris Perry, who was writing for Spin at the time, indie darling Parker Posey was upfront about how it was obvious Wesley Snipes was checked out. She said, "I came here to do something fun and stupid and big budget, and I don't normally get to do that kind of thing. Don't have the boost for it, you know. So I'm just showing up, saying my lines, having fun with it." And Wesley isn't. What? He's not having fun because he's method? Because he's not talking to you? Like, what? Down to the narrative that, like, gratuitous sex scenes, guys. Down to the narrative. Like, look, Wesley Snipes was really pushing for a schmeck scene that never happens. How do we know? Because who said? It turns out Wesley Snipes really wanted to have a sex scene in Blade Trinity. He talked about it on the DVD commentary. Okay. So Wesley said it himself, huh? And was allegedly making moves behind the scenes to make sure his character showed his proud. Okay. In the bedroom in the third film. Supposedly the idea was for Blade and Abigail Whistler to hook up at some point during the movie, but the idea never came to fruition. Was it because Beale vetoed the scene, or was it because it had nothing to do with the plot of the film? I don't know. What was the script, the original? I don't know. And how do they even like get this out? Like, what? Blade was blazed every day on filming. In an interview with the AV Club, Patton Oswalt, this guy, whoever Patton Oswalt is like keeps allegation after allegation, and everything is like, you know, the Bible, right? Like, how do we know this is all true? I don't know. But Patton Oswalt swears up and down that dropped a dime on how much weed Wesley Snipes smoked while on set. Oswalt told the AV Club Snipes wouldn't come out of his trailer and he would smoke weed all day, which is fine with me because I had all these DVDs that I wanted to catch up on. I don't know, but this is not vibing because we have an actor who's changing lines constantly, an actor that is not having it, that saw something racist happen on the set, and all of a sudden she's going like, oh, you know, well, I don't know if her or whoever made the allegation, the anonymous executive, going like gratuitous sex scene. An actor alleging, oh, you know, Wesley tried to strangle the director. The director being close friends with Ryan's, and like, how come like the executive, an anonymous executive, is talking to a tabloid negatively about this IP. I don't know, but this reminds me so much of It Ends With Us. It reminds me of It Ends With Us, the dynamics.